So we're going over a few smaller stories with these Eastern Conference teams, starting out with the Montreal Canadiens, because there was some pretty big updates on the injury side of things that I think a lot of Canadiens fans are going to be super excited about. To help us out, we're going over to this article on sportsnet.ca published by Eric Engels, talking about how Montreal Canadiens forward Patrik Laine has officially returned to practice, and he is closing in on his debut and impacting the roster. There we go, baby. Let's freaking go. Let's freaking go. Let's take a look at how this article opens up. There was Patrik Laine in a non-contact jersey back on the ice with his teammates for the first time since suffering the severe left knee sprain that put him in a heavy brace and on crutches for weeks. Talk about a welcome sight for the Montreal Canadiens. "I think it's exciting for us," said defenseman David Savard. "I think Laine is really happy to be back with the group, and hopefully he'll come back really soon." The article then goes out there and talks about some of the other comments from people in the Canadiens organization. Marty St. Louis says that there isn't really any certainty that Laine will return closer to the 2-month mark rather than the 3-month mark, but he did say after practice on Wednesday that "I think Laine is getting closer." This, of course, would be a really big shot of adrenaline for the team, and I think for Patrik Laine himself, just the talent profile, just the hype, there was so much to look forward to when he was acquired by Montreal from the Columbus Blue Jackets that ultimately, for a team that's slowly starting to get their groove back, this might be the thing that puts them back over the edge and really pushes them into, I don't want to say like contention status or even wildcard contention status, but just more competitive status. The Canadiens had a rough few months over here to start out the season, and I think with Patrik Laine re-entering the fold, this guy and his goal-scoring talent would be a big, big addition to a Canadiens team that is trying to transition from that lower, younger tier to being more competitive in the seasons to come. The article then goes out there and talks about a few other things here. This is what they say in the middle of the piece. The 26-year-old winger took his first meaningful steps in the process of recovery November 6 when he began skating again. He had taken several more in the lead-up to Wednesday's practice, moving from working with a rehabilitation coach to working on his touches with Director of Development Adam Nicholas over the last week. That's what Laine was doing for 30 minutes before the Canadiens hit the ice for their 50-minute workout. Then he stayed on to participate in the first 4 drills of practice before leaving the ice. It'll be a gradual build for Laine as time moves along, and St. Louis feels things will be more at a similar pace once he steps back into the Canadiens lineup. "I expect that it'll take him some time to get back at it," the coach said. "I don't know how long it is. Is it a game? Is it 2 weeks? We'll see how it progresses." So, of course, this doesn't necessarily mean that Laine is back in the lineup anytime soon, but it does mean that he is practicing officially and that he is now slowly getting back in the swing of things. Laine, after the injury that he had sustained in the preseason to Cedric Parekh, I honestly thought he would take a little bit longer than what he had eventually exhibited, but this seems to be like we're back on track in a really positive way. The article then goes out there and talks about how the Canadiens have been playing with certain guys with Laine out of the lineup, just kind of a status report as to the Canadiens forward core dynamics. And then it goes into an entire commentary from St. Louis saying this: "The players at the bottom end of Montreal's lineup need to keep doing what they've been doing in order to make the Canadiens even harder to play against. I don't think they should change their identity or their attitude when Laine comes back," St. Louis said. "Those lines are spending a lot of time in the offensive zone, and I think it's a domino effect of how we're defending. We're spending less time in the D zone, and we're becoming more and more connected offensively. The guys are developing some kind of chemistry and trust the inside of our predictability. They know where to go on the ice, and that comes with reps together. So I'm very happy with the performance, the work that these guys have put in." And I like that a lot, just hearing that the Canadiens' dynamics should not change too drastically once Patrik Laine does return, but just seeing what he is capable of doing, just seeing that he is looking a little bit better at practice every single day, that, of course, is a very positive sign, and ultimately it bodes for some very well Montreal Canadiens development. With this in mind, though, I wanted to shift gears and go from a positive Canadian story and go over to a negative Blue Jacket story. You might have noticed this in the title and the thumbnail of the video. Of course, this is not all sunshine and rainbows, but we had ourselves some crazy Columbus news earlier this morning when it was announced that the Blue Jackets have loaned David Jiricek and Mikhail Pitya to the AHL's Cleveland Monsters. Yeah, that guy got sent down. Of course, we're not really referring to Mikhail Pitya, but the Blue Jackets defenseman David Jiricek has been announced to have gone down to the AHL as well. Jiricek, 20 years old, has collected 1 assist and 4 penalty minutes in 6 games with CBJ this season. He has recorded 1 goal, 10 assists, and 11 points in 28 penalty minutes and 53 career appearances with the Blue Jackets since making his NHL debut in 22-23. The 6'4", 204-pound defenseman has added 57 points and 57 penalty minutes in 84 career AHL games with the Monsters from 2022 to 2024. A native of Klatovy, Czech Republic, Jiricek was selected in the first round, 6th overall by CBJ in the 2022 NHL Draft. And of course, with this in mind, it gets a lot of people up in arms with what's going on with this team. Of course, we'd already discussed David Jiricek and his trade availability at different parts throughout the past few days because of the situation in Columbus, because of the claiming of Dante Fabro, because of the conflicting ideals here. If the Columbus Blue Jackets wanted to give David Jiricek some prime development time, there was an opportunity to do that here in Columbus before they claimed Dante Fabro and with Erik Goodbranson out with an injury. But the Blue Jackets did not decide to do that. They decided to scratch David Jiricek for a bit. They decided to not really give him much ice time. And I will say there are some comments that are going out there and defending the move here, saying, yeah, it's a lot better for Jiricek to be getting 20 minutes a night in the AHL rather than rotting away in the National Hockey League team and not playing much at all. And then there's some hype as well for what the Cleveland Monsters have in store. There's already a pretty good core of younger defensemen on that team. Denton Mateychuk, of course, is the top guy already. Now you're adding David Jiricek. That's going to be so deadly for other teams in the American Hockey League. But for Jiricek himself, this is at least better than just not doing anything, like he had been doing in the Columbus Blue Jacket system for the past few weeks here. Does that necessarily mean that he's going to get traded for even more now? I don't really know, to be honest, but Elliot Friedman did say on the recent 32 Thoughts podcast that the Columbus Blue Jackets want to figure out this Jiricek situation soon. There also is an idea floating around that because Jiricek got sent down, because the other guy here in Mikhail Pitya got sent down, it's allowing the Blue Jackets to open up a roster spot and thus allowing them to activate a guy like Kent Johnson once again, so who really knows if that's going to be in store in the next few days here. But for Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman David Jiricek, obviously, for a guy with top-end talent and top-end projectability like he had in 2022, it's very difficult to see him go up and down in this capacity because you could very well say he might even be better than some of the guys that are already getting consistent minutes in Columbus anyway. It's just his development has taken such a turn here that it opens the door for more discussion longer term. There are some comments, though, that I did want to go out there and read. This is what Negative Taylor went out there and said on the Blue Jackets subreddit. Jiricek needs AHL time because he is not NHL ready at this time. Hopefully he understands the development process and continues to work with the coaching staff and returns when he is ready. His ceiling is too high to be traded. I think he's only gone if he doesn't want to follow the development process and becomes a prima donna. But with that attitude, he won't succeed in the NHL no matter what team it is. And then you have some other comments here saying, I got a feeling the team is looking at options to trade David Jiricek. Some other replies say, I really hope not, the kid is only 20, which is really young for a defenseman. He has plenty of time to figure it out. He's 20 years old and he's an incredible prospect. Defensemen take time. So, we can't come to any definitive conclusions from this, of course, but at the end of the day, it is an interesting update that I wanted to share with you here in a video, so I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on Patrik Laine coming back to practice for the Montreal Canadiens, how good this is for them, and what are your thoughts on David Jiricek getting sent down along with Mikhail Pitya? I know we haven't really been talking too much about Pitya in this video, but David Jiricek is a pretty beefy name with some star power attached to him, so I wanted to dive into that in this commentary as well. What are your thoughts about the Columbus and Montreal news that we had discussed in this video? Let me know in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.